what is the difference between this 20-5 start versus an unbelievable start last year under Joe Mazzulla? We know the makeup on the floor is obviously different. The makeup in the room is different. The way this team plays is different. But the records, very, very similar. And it wasn't too long after this hot start that the team slowed down and started to play a little bit differently, got a little bit caught up, got, some internal stuff as well. And obviously we're never quite entirely the same after. So what did they learn from last year to where they are right now? It starts at the head coach, Joe Mazzulla, to the top talent, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and filters all the way down. Steve, I defer to you. You watch this team quite a bit, obviously. You report on them. What makes them different this year from where they were at this time a year ago?
I think the roster makeup, frankly, Kristaps, Porzingis, and Jrue Holiday in place of Rob Williams and Marcus Smart is an upgrade. And, they get criticized for their depth, but I think their depth is pretty good. You might not have some names or scorer type names that jump out at you coming off the pine, but I think the guys they have there are hustler types who aren't trying to do too much, which is important, who are kind of look like they're committed to playing the game the right way. I think they're in significantly better position than they were last year.
To that point, there were, and this, I'm not going to say this was wholeheartedly an issue last year, maybe at points last year, but definitely in recent years, whether it was under Ime, under Brad before him, it speaks to, as you alluded to, the roster composition, the makeup of the group, which has obviously evolved over time, other than, keeping the true core pieces together, those being the Jays. It's their team first and foremost. But it seems like, under the Porzingis and the Holidays of the world, and even Derek White, and Al Horford, like, remove your starting six. You get to that depth, which, early in the year, I'll admit, I was very concerned about it, and I wasn't alone. I think a lot of people were. But as it has sort of found a little bit of a rhythm, some of these guys, like you said, not a lot of household names, but maybe more importantly, it's a group of players, it seems, that really know, understand, respect, are content with their roles. They are, in the truest form, role players, and are good with it. And we've seen a lot of guys in recent Celtics history that may have been quote-unquote role players that weren't necessarily always willing to accept the role. Is that a big part of what has you believing that they're better positioned now than they were before?
I just think they have better players. And look, some of the improvement in the players is within the same people who were here last year. I think Derek White is better this year. Sure. I know Sam Hauser is better. A shooter like Hauser, given more reps, more time, more confidence, he's going to get better. He's getting his minutes every game now, and a shooter needs to know that. A shooter needs to get his touches, and that's there for them. And I think, like I said, Derek White, I believe too, is a better version of the Derek White we saw last year. He was good last year. He was very good. The numbers, the on and off court numbers, certainly pointed it out last season, right? But I think he's even better this year. And teaming in the backcourt with Jrue Holiday, I think that's a really good defensive combination as well.
FanDuel is the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Yeah, that's what makes the biggest difference for me, I think, between last year and this year. I think last year you had a team offensively that came out of the gates really hot. At certain points felt like defense wasn't a priority for them as much as, just scoring the basketball because they were shooting the ball so well. It was almost like, who cares about defense? We're on fire. It's not going to matter what we do down there. We're just focused down here and we'll be okay. The shooting came back to the pack a little bit. and all of a sudden they were, a team that floundered a little bit I think at the time it was a West Coast trip that really kind of tripped them up. I think the Golden State game they had circled on the calendar prior to the season starting, was sort of part of the wheels falling off a little bit. This team defensively is just much better. I mean, it's personnel, it's connectivity, it's everything. They're just a much better defensive team. They held the Magic team yesterday to the lowest rating of almost any team in the NBA this year offensively. I mean, I know the Magic aren't a great three-point shooting team, and it's kind of a game that Boston can obviously exploit, especially if the shots aren't falling from the Magic. But at the same time, they held the Magic team to their worst offensive output of the season. So it's not like this team, I mean, it's several things, but it's not like this team doesn't understand the importance of defense. I think defensively, when you have Derek White and you have Jrue Holiday, they set the tone, and everybody else behind them just kind of falls in the line. And I think that's going to serve them better, Kaufman, as we keep going forward here. I mean, they're 14-4 against teams over 500. I think defense has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, well, look, they've got some better people. I mean, and I think they're just more conscious of defense last year. Malcolm Brogdon said it after the last game, and he put it on the line. He said, look, we just, we didn't pay attention to defense as much as we should have. Go back to the Pierce, Garnett, Ray Allen teams. And, the big talk then was, Tom Thibodeau and his defense. But you talk to players back then, they said, look, no, this is Doc Rivers' defense. The only difference is that Doc steps aside and gives Thibodeau and defense a big chunk of every practice. So it wasn't like that Thibodeau was one pulling strings and stuff and, setting up a scheme that was hard to break. It's just that they paid more attention to it. It was a bigger part of their practice day. And I think you're seeing a little bit more of that this year. Clearly, I think people didn't expect quite the defense that they're getting from Kristaps Porzingis. And that's been a huge thing as well. I mean, they're, like you said, connectivity, but all the stuff we're talking about, and I hate to cut this short because maybe we can end the podcast after this, but it's going to come down to the same thing it's come down to the last several years. And I know we've talked about it before here, right? 2018, 19, 20, 21 was different, but 22 and 23, the Celtics got eliminated because when push came to shove, when it became crunch time, they resorted to hero ball. Not because guys were jerks. It's like, oh no, but it was more like, I'm going to take responsibility and go make a play here. Nice, but it takes you out of your offense, makes it easier for the defense. One-on-one becomes one-on-two, and the games, they get flustered and games would fall away. There's no reason they should have lost the 2022 finals, but they did. So here we are. It's going to come down to the same thing again, and you just hope, Celtics fans, I guess, would hope that with Holiday and Derek White in the backcourt, that they would kind of slow things down, not slow things down because actually they want to play fast, but put things on a more even keel with ball movement, with getting the ball side to side, with making the defense move. Because if this Celtic team moves the basketball, it is unguardable. These guys are unguardable as a unit. They've got too many people who can spread the floor, too many guys who can beat closeouts and drive, and coming off the bench with Al Horford, which is a ridiculous benefit to have, and a Sam Hauser. It's in their hands.
I've been looking for the best deal on Celtics tickets, and with over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports festivals, and more. You can use my code DREAMERSPRO for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code DREAMERSPRO. Make sure you check the link in the description to download the app.